I'm a big fan of noise-cancelling headphones for their ability to dull ambient noise that I find tiring and distracting when I'm trying to work. I'm also a big fan of Bluetooth for the pure convenience factor of portable listening, and that's why I'm a big fan of Sony's WH-1000XM3s, which are arguably one of the best wireless active noise-cancelling headphones available, but with a price tag to match. In recent years, noise cancelling and Bluetooth technology has trickled down into much more affordable devices, and the Soundcore Life Q20 is one of those lower priced devices, coming in at around $60 or about £50 at the time of writing. The prospect of an affordable wireless active noise cancelling headphone from a well-respected brand like Anker Soundcore is intriguing. So what kind of performance does $60 get you? And how do they compare to the best? Well, let's get into it. Hey guys, this is Noel and this is Wheezy Reviews. Each week I take a look at a thing and let you know what I think, so if you're into that kind of content then make sure you subscribe. As usual, there will be timestamps in the description if you want to skip around, and full disclosure, Soundcore did send these to me for my honest review. As always, whether I purchase something myself or I get sent a review unit, I'm always going to give you my honest take on them. So let's start out with the specification then. They use a 40mm dynamic driver, which are claimed to be high-res certified. They use Bluetooth version 5 with the codecs SBC and AAC. It is a shame to see that they're missing aptX, but I wasn't really expecting more at this price point. Battery life is claimed at up to 40 hours of use with noise cancelling on, or 60 hours with noise cancelling off at around 60% volume. Now that should be enough to get you through your week of work at the office, depending on how much you use them throughout the day. I found I got about a week's worth of use out of them from the battery from using them for a few hours each day. Obviously your mileage will vary depending on whether you have noise cancelling on and how loud you have them. When you do run out, a full recharge takes just 3 hours, although they cannot be used whilst they're being recharged. And they do also have a 3.5mm aux connection so that you can use them in wired operation. Something to note is that they cannot be paired to multiple devices at once, so if you want to switch between different devices, you're going to have to go through the pairing process each time. Included with the headphones is a soft carrying pouch, a 3.5mm aux cable, and a micro USB charging cable. Now, I'm not going to complain about the lack of USB-C here, due to both the price point and the fact that this model has been out a little while now, but I will say that I do expect to see USB-C on all newly launched devices, regardless of price here in 2020. Okay, so let's look at the build and comfort now. So the Soundcore Life Q20 are a fairly lightweight headphone at just 257 grams, with this rather compact shape. The material used here is the usual plastic, and I've no issue with that at all. There's a decent amount of padding on the pleather headband, the ear cups have a decent amount of lateral and vertical rotation, and the pads themselves, whilst not especially large, are surprisingly roomy considering the overall footprint of the ear cups. The Q20 manages to both have smaller ear cups than the Sennheiser HD 4.50 BT, whilst having much more comfortable and roomier ear pads. There's a good bit of memory foam padding in the ear pads, making them really quite comfortable for longer listening sessions. The ear cups fold up into the headband for portability. They also rotate flat, which means they can be worn around the neck with the pads against the chest, which is my preferred way of folding instead of the pads facing outwards. Looking at the physical functions and controls then, over on the left-hand ear cup, we have two buttons, the power button and the noise cancelling selector button. Noise cancelling can be switched between on or off, but there are no other modes such as ambient sound. On the right-hand cup there are volume up and down buttons, as well as the usual play and pause button, which also has another little feature that I will go into in the sound section. Next to this is the micro USB charge port and a 3.5mm aux input, so that they can be used in wired operation. That's all there is for physical controls. There are no touch controls, which in my opinion is a good thing. A physical button is always preferred to a touch control on a headphone. So let's talk about the noise cancelling then. Soundcore calls the noise cancelling feature hybrid active noise cancelling, and I don't know what it is about this that makes them hybrid, but it functions using 4 microphones and a digital active noise cancellation algorithm to cut out a claimed 90% of ambient noise. So a quick primer on active noise cancellation and what you can actually expect it to cut out. Active noise cancelling is a technology designed to cut out continuous low-frequency ambient noise, such as the low rumble of aircraft travel or an air conditioning unit. It is not designed to work for speech and other higher-pitched noises, especially sudden mid to high-end frequencies. In an office environment, for example, you can expect the ANC to cut out the aircon, most of the traffic noise outside, and deaden to a low mumble the background office chatter, but it's not going to cut out a conversation happening next to you or the sound of a car outside beeping its horn, for example. I recently saw a comment that said that a certain noise-cancelling headphone was rubbish because it didn't cut out the sound from their TV. Well, I'm sorry, but that is not what ANC is designed for at all. So now that we know what to expect, how does the Soundcore Life Q20 fare? And I'd say that the noise-cancelling performance is acceptable for the price, so about on par for the course really. It's really not a patch on the performance of the likes of the Sony 1000XM3, but that's not a surprise. However, it is about on par with the likes of the Sennheiser HD 4.50 BTNC or even Sony's cheaper and older H900N. Now, sitting in my front room with the traffic noise going on outside with the window open, all the traffic noise is gone, along with the low hum of my PC with all of its fans. The occasional noisy motorcycle will come past and break through the noise cancelling, but this would also be the case with the XM3s. If I turn on the aircon unit, the bulk of the low frequency rumble is gone, but the higher whistling tones of the aircon unit still break through. This is where the XM3 shows its advantage by being able to cut out a much larger chunk of the aircon noise frequencies. But even they struggled somewhat to 100% remove the higher pitched whistling noise of the aircon. The Soundcore Life Q20 will definitely get the job done for noise cancelling, but for real hardcore noise cancelling work, as expected, they don't quite live up to the more expensive offerings that are available. So frequent flyers will still want to look to Sony and Bose, but for everybody else, especially your daily commuters, the Life Q20 will no doubt suit your needs. Okay, let's move on to sound, and this is where I will lose these serious audiophiles and objectivists, assuming any of them actually made it this far. But hey, that's why I put timestamps in the description. Skip to the section that you care about the most, and if you don't want to watch the whole video, that's fine, but if you do want to watch the whole thing, that really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm, and so does leaving a like, a comment, or sharing the video with someone who needs to see this. Okay, so on to sound, and I could probably sum it up by saying Beats by Anker. This is very much the mainstream generic, bass-heavy, somewhat V-shaped style sound signature, and whilst that might not be to my personal taste, I've no issue with this from a subjective point of view, horses for courses and all that. This is a casual headphone aimed at a mainstream audience. Some people don't want the most accurate sound, but they want the beats and the bass, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that's you, then keep watching. So the overall sound signature is not so far unlike the Sony 1000XM3s or the H900N, and really quite similar to the Soundcore Liberty 2 Pro True Wireless that I previously reviewed, and perhaps that is the Soundcore House sound. Think the Blonde BL3 but with more bass. So bass is very present on all tracks, sounding a little bit bloated and bleeding into the mid-range on some tracks. Upper mids and treble are rather restrained, giving a super relaxed and slightly dark overall sound. For modern genres such as chart pop, EDM, drum and bass, hip hop and the likes, this type of sound signature does fit right in. They emphasize the beat and the bass, and they're just pure fun. I was really enjoying listening to Deadmau5 and Asterix and even some metalcore like Beartooth, all really quite enjoyable. Listeners of more traditional genres like rock, blues, jazz, classical, and even metal are going to find the bass-focused sound signature a bit muddy, and the lack of technicalities will leave them wanting. But I'd argue, if that is you, that you're probably not the intended audience for this product. In terms of imaging and staging, the Life Q20 does image fairly well, but as to be expected, with a closed-back ANC headphone, the soundstage is quite intimate. Something else to note is that the Life Q20 doesn't seem to be supported by the Soundcore app. That means there are no EQ profiles or custom EQ settings available, so unless you have an EQ built into your mobile device, this is the only sound signature that you're going to get. If you're still with me, that means that you're either a super fan of the channel or a bass head. So slap like now if you like bass. I mentioned I would talk about the play and pause button during the sound section, and bass heads, pay attention. If you've ever listened to a rather bassy headphone and thought, gee, I wish that had more bass, well now you can instantly get more bass by double tapping the play and pause button. Soundcore says that this is their exclusive bass up technology, which conducts real-time analysis of the low frequencies to instantly strengthen the bass output. Double tap the play button when listening to bass-heavy genres like EDM and hip-hop for an amplified listening experience. Now, I don't remember the last audio device that I used that had a bass boost button. I thought they'd all gone out of fashion, but here it is alive and well on the Soundcore Life Q20. When I learned of this feature, I immediately put on the album Heart by Asterix and hit that bass boost. And I actually honestly could say that there is plenty of bass on offer by default for the likes of Asterix, but then I'm only a part-time bass head. But you kick in that bass boost and it does exactly what it says on the tin. Thankfully, it does mostly seem to boost the sub and low bass, mostly, thus not muddying things up too much or making everything sound boomy. Regardless, I think you have to be a real hardcore bass head to enjoy this, and it only really works for this kind of genre. But as with any bass-focused headphone, what's missing for me are the vibrations through the floor and that breathtaking thump in the chest you get from a cranked sound system at a free party. I guess there are some things that a headphone will never replicate. So my verdict then, I think for a casual mainstream audience, the Soundcore Life Q20 do a pretty good job for the price. I think that for around $60 or less, as they often go on sale, they offer an excellent Bluetooth wireless experience with some decent noise cancellation and a rather relaxed and casual sound signature that suits modern or mainstream genres. And of course, if big bass is your thing, then you will probably love these. Okay, that's going to do it for this review. If you want to check out these or any of the products that I've mentioned, then check out my affiliate links in the description. And if you do end up making a purchase, I'll get a small kickback at no extra cost to you. As I said at the top of the show, this headphone was provided by Soundcore for my honest review. I was not paid or influenced to say anything about this product, and nor were Soundcore given the right to alter any part of my review. They are viewing this at the same time as you. So like the video if you liked it, double tap the dislike if you hated it, and thank you so much for watching. And until next time, have a good one.